Welcome.
We're back.
I'm in my same stinky little black set because Ross wanted to ensure that we got everything we needed for the episode. And in case we needed to cut an entire one, we'd use from this.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess, would you consider that something you hate? Because I would like to talk about things I hate first.
Tell me what you hate first.
Well, I'm not prepared. I am. Oatmeal raisin cookies.
Love.
Because they're supposed to be chocolate chips. You see them from far away, you're like, oh, fuck yeah, chocolate chip, totally. Which is the best. And then it's not. And it's like kind of like chewy and like gross. And it's like cookies, like it's better for you, but like, why are you comparing what's better for you as a cookie?
Also just like cookie's a cookie.
Cookie's a fucking cookie. Give me the best, most horrible for me
full
cookie
stick
I can
of butter.
get. Full stick.
Yeah.
Full stick, full stop. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So definitely oatmeal raisin cookies. They're liars, they're frauds, and they taste like fucking shit.
Absolutely.
Ooh, got fired up.
Okay.
Start hot.
I see you sweating.
Yeah.
I hate people, and I've actually talked about this on my channels.
People, period.
Anyone. Bye. Welcome to Demoted. I hate people who make work their entire personality. I think today we'll talk about a little bit of our work journeys.
Are you talking about us?
No, I don't think we do that.
Yeah, and sort of. Yeah. But I mean, our public persona is kind of like work.
No one does that much.
It's true. A lot of people overinflating how much they work.
I think that's like just not a personality trait.
Demoted.
So today I wanted to learn a little bit about and talk a little bit about, because obviously I can't do anything without talking about myself, but the content creation journey, and talk a little bit about how we make money, because people ask us that question all the time.
One thing that's like interesting about both of us, I think that we can relate on, is that like we hate being content creators.
It feels like a dirty word. You
more than me, but it feels like influencer is a dirty word. Oh my God,
blow my brains out.
I always say.
Yeah.
Content creator I'm a little more comfortable with because I do enjoy making content.
Right.
But when I would go on dates and try to say my story and try to explain, like the first thing you talk about on a date is what you do for work.
Right.
I'm saying I'm a content creator. So what do you do? Oh, I just make videos on the internet.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So that it's a hard story to tell. I think, and both of us are like, have a little bit of shame from that.
So much shame. I mean, people, you know, I'll be with family and then they'll have a friend over and they'll be like, so Ross, why don't you tell them what you do? And I'm like, I still haven't figured out a one sentence summary that gets me in and out real quick.
Oh no. I could see you talking for like 2 hours on it. And then,
right. Well, it's because it's like, I don't want to sell myself short, but I also don't want to sound like a huge D-bag.
Totally. And we have to be self-deprecating at all times. But I think like, you know, maybe this episode will flex a little bit.
Yeah. I think that's totally fair. I was reading something the other day. They were talking about the difference between a content creator and an influencer. And the way like the outside world, like ad agencies, media agencies look at it, they actually value the influencer higher. They're like defining like influence is more powerful than people who are just like creating videos. Like you can be an influencer and a content creator, but like not every content creator is an influencer.
That's interesting.
You know, and I was like, fuck you guys. I don't want to ever be called an influencer.
Yeah,
I hate it.
Same. And like probably by the definition, we both are influencers.
Totally.
Which I'm going to go barf.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious. I do think there's like influencer has a little bit of a connotation to it. Influencer will often think about like, oh, a model posing
like me.
Butt pics.
Yeah.
Right. Which is like kind of your bread and butter. And like, I'm not knocking it. If you got it, flaunt it. You know what I mean? Like I'd be posting butt pics too.
I started with bikinis and then transferred into kind of corporate, which was a weird pivot.
It was a weird pivot. Yeah. The OnlyFans still cracking.
I mean, it's still, that's a big revenue stream. I think we'll talk about that later.
We'll definitely dive into that. I mean, I think that's a nice transition. I'm curious, and we obviously know you're a million years younger than me, but when did you kind of start Corporate Natalie? Like what was the first video? Like when was the first video and what sort of compelled that?
Yes. So first video was in 2020, October of 2020. And I downloaded TikTok. And the day I downloaded it, I was, as I am with every venture in my life, extremely overconfident, probably like this podcast as well.
Sure.
Like, I was like, oh, I can be a creator. I did 3 scrolls.
The 7 people listening to this are going to be like, no, you're great.
Yeah, I know. Stop it.
All 7 of them.
Thank you to the 4 of you. No, but I was scrolling. I did 3 scrolls and I was like, I can totally do this. This is easy. And I didn't see anything related to corporate at all.
Right.
Like, of course, it was a day in my life. I wake up with my matcha and I do my daily affirmations and I'm sitting in my tiny San Francisco apartment, like rolling out of bed at 7:59 a.m.
Right.
Just trying to lie my way through like my consulting job.
Right. So it's like what you say versus what it actually is.
Yes.
Sort of contrast.
And I think I was looking for a little escape. So these, you know, everyone was like painting their house, doing all these creative ventures. Like, let's all find ourselves in COVID art. And my art became making these short form videos. It came very naturally. I've done improv comedy in high school and college. I'm super extroverted. And what I was like really confident, truly. I mean, we joke on that, but like, I think the difference between people that become content creators and people who like want to, but are too scared is just like having the confidence to post that first video is like 90% of the journey.
Totally. I cannot remember who it was, famous old female comedian. She's like, I'm not funny, I'm brave.
Fully.
And I was like, oh, that's like kind of cheesy, but like 1,000,000% true.
1,000,000%. I do feel very brave. I felt very brave back then. And even like with my job, talking about work, that felt like an act of bravery.
Were you nervous though to put stuff out? Did you ever think like, did you ever think it could blow up? More importantly, did you ever think like, oh shit, if they catch me doing this?
I wonder if they'll catch me.
Yeah.
I'm very risk averse with my life and my career. And like, I did not name any specific names.
Right.
Bruce is a fictional character. I built this kind of fictional world for myself. I didn't swear. I sort of reread our social media guidelines and I was like, I think this is okay to do.
Yeah.
When I started monetizing, that was when it got a little, dicier of having a side income was not quite supported by the company, but it happened and it took off, and I would have been happy if it didn't take off. Like I sent a video to my group text. I was like, I'm going to be famous. Just so you guys know, my first video that I ever made.
Yeah.
They're like, shut up, Natalie. No, you're not.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't,
Did
maybe.
the first one perform super well or was it like a few,
No.
how many did it take to kind of?
It took a few.
Yeah.
And then, I found this corporate thing taking off and I just leaned in so hard.
Leaned in so goddamn hard.
Yeah. Tell me about you.
Practically fell over.
Fell over. When did you start? In like 1980?
Yeah. So Reagan had just been elected. No, I started in 2014 with Vine. Did you ever have Vine on your phone?
I did. Yeah. High school.
It was like, it was great because you could only have 6 seconds. So it's like, okay, 6 seconds. It like truly lowered the bar. You think about all these overproduced YouTube videos. You're like, fuck, I can't make like an hour-long video, but 6 seconds, like I can do that. And like, it kind of brought the expected production value down so you could play both characters, right? You didn't need another actor. You could like throw a shirt on your head and like talk in another voice. And I was like, oh, there's a woman for sure. Like now you're the female character.
Totally.
Duh.
I get it. Yeah.
Of course. And I know why I did it. I did it because I was suffering at work and I was like, someone's got to talk about this, but I never thought it was going to be, it was mostly for my team. Like growing up, I was the kid who made
was
the
at
whole videos.
Oracle?
This was at
Okay.
Oracle. This is during Oracle. And my team liked it. And then another couple other teams liked it. And like, oh, when are you doing your next video? And it just like.
And it was sales already. Those were the bits.
It was sales. It was just like, yeah, it was sales, but it was just like kind of a corporate dude in a corporate world. And I would make like dumb jokes. I like so stupid. One of my earliest videos was I looked on the ground, there were 2 bugs that were like connected. They looked like they were banging. And I was like, oh my God, check out these 2 having sex in the parking lot. And I just zoom in on these 2 bugs that are like going butt to butt.
Stop.
So I started off with really smart humor.
So that took off.
So then I just texted my friends. I was like, I want to be famous. Because I'm like Steve Irwin corporate edition.
Totally. Yeah. Huge niche, untapped. Still.
Huge. I still might dive into it.
Yeah.
But I'm TBD. I haven't seen any of those bugs in a while. So I hope they're doing all right.
Totally. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like the floating, I've seen them flying, like dragonflies connected.
Right. Airbang. Like how? Impressive.
Airbang's insane.
Anyway, I'm digressing here.
Okay.
I kind of just evolved with the platforms.
Okay. So it was all like internal.
It was all like internal. It was just,
when was the traction?
So 2015. So I guess it took about a year before I realized like anybody outside of like Oracle or like my friends. Cause I was always the weirdo in the friend group, goofy guy.
Well, you're filming bugs having sex. Yeah. You're
right. And I would consider myself an artist at the time, but people, I was a little bit ahead of my time
Totally.
in a lot of ways.
Totally.
And so I don't know. I used it as catharsis. And so in 2015, one of my friends submitted my account to a really reputable news organization called Total Frat Move.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's like the New York Times of like the internet at the time, pre-Barstool.
Love it.
And also Bro Bible, and they sent it to both of them. And what happened was like right at the turn of the new year, 2015 to 16, they wrote like, here's the accounts you need to follow today. And mine was like the top one. And then they went on Christmas vacation, I guess, for a week. And I just sat on their homepage for like a week.
No way.
And there was like a mini blow up. You know, it wasn't like
what was
all of a
the
sudden
video?
It was an article written.
Oh, okay.
That linked my account and a few other videos.
Oh,
And
got it.
And that was the first time I ever looked at my phone. Like this is back when I had notifications on and I wasn't terrified of notification. There was like, boom, follow. I was like, oh my God, like what's happening right now?
I'm famous.
I'm like, yeah, this is like happening. And that's when I decided to like put some rigor behind the process and be like, okay, I'm going to try to put out a sketch a week. I'm going to try and like be focused and write ahead of time versus just like, oh, when I feel like it.
Yeah.
So 2020 was when you started. So I was a few years earlier, 5 years earlier. But when did you kind of say, all right, like this is hitting for me? Like, was there more? Did someone reach out?
Well,
was it like,
yeah,
I've
so
got
I
a lot of
think
followers?
I think the monetization part was shocking to me because of my judgment of the space. I'm like, you can't make money on here. You do dances. Like there's no way, a lot of judgment. And I remember I got my first brand deal when I had like 10,000 followers on TikTok, which I just didn't think was something that a brand would be interested in.
Yeah.
And they reached out. It was Twisted Tea.
And
they offered me $500. And I was like,
yeah,
I am the richest person on earth. Like, oh my God, I'm taking all my friends to dinner. Meanwhile, that's taxed at 50%.
Yeah, of course. 1099 that shit.
They pay like net 95.
Right.
I'm not going to see that money for a year. And I was so excited. I remember from day one, we always talk about like when I go on podcasts, like your brand deals are super organic and we can talk about sort of that process. But from the start, it just came very naturally to like stick to what I know and just loosely incorporate this thing.
Yep.
And so it was just like the Twisted Tea was on the thing. I did like the virtual happy hour coworker who gets too drunk or something. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And they loved it. I posted it on my Instagram for free. I love the video so much.
You're like, this is hilarious. I want everyone to see it.
Is it okay if I repost it on like every channel I've ever had? Yeah.
That was before you started realizing you could charge for different things and like all the different elements that like are monetizable.
Totally. Which we can get into.
Yeah, we can definitely get in there. But I like, when did you decide to go full time? Like your ascent has been very fast. Like, I mean, obviously I'm comparing that to myself, which is, I'm smaller than you. I've been doing this for longer than you too. But like, when did you say, okay, it's time for me to make the jump and make this my full-time thing?
So it was last summer. It actually, 2022 summer.
Okay.
And I think it took a really long time for me to get there because I was like a risk averse person. I was basically working 2 full-time jobs at the time. I had no representation, as do you, no outside management agency helping me with like
telling you how this world works,
helping review contracts. Like I felt like I was a lawyer, writer, videographer,
star,
absolute
accountant,
model, accountant. Yeah. All the things, which like, you know, now I would never say like content creation is the hardest thing on earth. It's of course like working my full-time job was harder, but doing both at the same time was immensely difficult. And I got asked to actually act in this little show in LA.
Sounds important and awesome.
It was really important and awesome. It was actually produced and written by my friend sitting right here.
Oh my God.
Called Sales Are Dope.
It sounds so hot and fun.
And
everyone should watch it. And if you hadn't or haven't,
we'll link it.
We'll link in bio, that shit.
And I thought it was just an opportunity that wouldn't come again.
Yeah.
And I also was in parallel out of PTO. So I actually had to quit. And then I moved down to LA with you and a few of your idiot friends for a month and a half.
Lived a goddamn dream.
Lived in a frat house.
All the boys lived upstairs and you got the whole downstairs.
I got the whole downstairs. So sweet of you. And that was in a whole nother story.
That was in case
when
the murderers came in.
Exactly.
We wanted to hear you scream before we like went out the windows.
So then we could jump.
Right.
Yeah. So that was sort of when I made the leap. That was like a project that I felt the opportunity wouldn't come again. Yeah. How about you?
Well, I want to ask one more question because like I think a lot of listeners and folks that like in my life too have been like, well, how do you decide to go after something you're passionate about? Like when do you what are the like factors you weigh in? And obviously like my answer is easy. It's like, I was doing this as a side hustle up until 2020. I did it as a side hustle for 7 years. Like I did, unlike you, I decided I didn't want to monetize for the first 5 years. Like I want to build brand equity. And I think for me, it's like, and we could talk about the differences between our audiences and how hard they are on me for like brand deals and so forth, calling me a sellout. But I wanted to like build that up and was like, okay, the longer I wait, like the bigger the deals like will be income. And I don't know if that's necessarily would have been true or not, but like, you know, once TikTok was along this idea of brand monetization, like influencer marketing was already very firmly a thing. It wasn't a thing during the Vine days, and it really wasn't even like a thing during the early IG days.
Definitely.
But yeah, so like talk about when you decided to jump and like what was going through your mind.
So a lot of people will ask me, I spoke at a conference, an intern conference, and 3 people approached the mic. We did an open Q&A at the end, and these are college students.
This is when?
This is recently. I'm just
Okay.
setting the stage.
Yeah.
And they said, when do you know to quit? I do content, and this is for a big firm. They're like, I do content, and I just want to know when to quit. You have to make sure you can pay for insurance. You can pay your taxes. There are so many costs associated with leaving your corporate job that they give you, these benefits, this cush, this flexibility.
Benefits underrated.
Very underrated.
Yeah.
And if you cannot pay out of pocket immediately for anything that happens to you, like if you are not ready to cover every cost associated with your life that your job was paying for, do not quit.
Yeah.
It is not worth it.
Yeah.
And so I was at a point financially where I could do that and I could make that leap. And if I had to go back to the corporate world, I had a few months to cover myself.
Right.
And live the lifestyle I want to live. Like, I think I was really intentional about that. I want to go on trips with my friends. I don't want to eat ramen. I want to buy a house in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I had all those things in mind, and I was very intentional about when I quit. So, and you were paying me so much to do the show.
Right.
Zero.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that was a huge factor.
I'm still paying
as well.
that debt back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Exactly.
going to be
this mic's on you. Yeah.
it's going to be a while before I ever pay you back on that one. But season 2, no one's talking about, probably never going to happen. But if it does, I will pay you tens of dollars.
Tens.
At least.
Enough on me making that jump because you were paying me so handsomely.
Oh.
You took a lot longer to leave.
Yeah.
And I would like to talk about this intention with never doing a brand deal, because I still think that almost haunts you to this day.
A little bit.
So when did you leave and what was the moment?
Yeah. So, I mean, I left, you want to talk about hedging against yourself. I made the choice to go to business school instead. So I applied to Second City Film School to do comedy and business school. And I was very fortunate that I got into Second City. I was super stoked. I was like, I'm going to move to Chicago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I applied. I did this whole video application thing, and I was stoked to go. I was like, oh, I'm never going to get into Stanford. It doesn't matter. Dope. I had mentally prepared. And then lo and behold, I got into Stanford. Flex. And I called Second City and I was like, hey, I'm really struggling with this. My heart says I want to be around creatives. I want to do funny content, make movies. I don't know, media. Or I can go to Stanford. They were like, Ross, go to Stanford, you dumb fucking asshole.
Completely.
Without
Not
the dumb fucking
comparable.
asshole. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, because a lot of the way the internet has enabled people, it's like I had an audience already. I was in the throes of corporate bro.
You'd be bringing almost them more exposure.
Yeah, but it was more like and we talked about this a little bit. It's just making content super lonely, and you want to be around other creatives who inspire you. And that's why it's great that you live in this city, because I have no one else who does this. And that's super important. But to go back to the question of when did I jump? I jumped after I graduated. For the longest time, corporate bro was anonymous. The searches were like, corporate bro, real name. Corporate bro, Same. Where does he work? Who is he? Yeah, still. If I go search myself, it's those things. And I came out as Ross Pomerantz after business school, because I was like, I don't want to go into a corporate job. I now have a fallback whenever I want, which is great. And I'm not saying people need to go to the lengths that I went to kind of hedge against yourself.
Just go for 2 years. Yeah.
Just get into Stanford
real quick.
Get into Stanford,
take the time off, golf a lot.
Golf a little.
Party.
Yeah, travel. Rage. Well, I didn't quite travel as much as I probably should have, because I was still doing corp bro through that entire period, which is great because I had my whole team around, and my whole team being friends and family. That was my team. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to do both. But the brand deal thing, I do regret it, and I don't regret it. I think I'm not as skilled at this, where you put out a piece of content every day, right?
Right now.
Just about every day. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you do that. I go insane thinking about this stuff. And I've started to kind of adopt the more TikTok-ish style. This is not to demean that style, but I would write these sketches that would require 5 people in an office, and I would build out these whole, almost like TV scenes.
No, there's a full Freytag's pyramid in anything you've ever written.
Yeah.
It's just do a TikTok sound.
Yeah,
Ross.
or you could just lip sync to Taylor Swift.
Exactly.
And I'm like, well, fuck. Okay, great.
There's a way out.
Yeah, there's a way out. And so what happened was, if I was only posting once a week, I was only making 4 posts a month. And if one of those was an ad, suddenly 25% of my brand is an ad. And I got very worried about, would I erode it? Would people care? Do they get upset? And the answer is both. Some are happy about it. Some are like, whoa, get your bag, king. And the others are like, kill yourself. You sell out.
Totally.
And most of those people saying that to me, of course, are salespeople working for another company, but
Absolutely.
neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there.
Of course.
So that's really fun.
Do people think that you are in sales right now? I have people ask me, where does Ross work? I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess those are probably newer or not as like tapped in folks. Like I don't go out there and like, I don't work in sales anymore. I still do a lot of consulting with early stage startups.
Totally.
Like I my ear to the streets in sales. Like I'm the sales whisperer still in a lot of ways,
Totally.
but I do not hold a quota. I'm not sitting there ripping dials. And I worry about that every day thinking like, I'm going to be the out of touch VP.
Yeah.
Who's going to like not be funny anymore and not relatable.
Corporate Natalie quitting our corporate job is the most fraudulent thing on earth. It feels like,
right.
But I do feel very strong in that, like we do so many things outside of just creating content.
Totally.
Like I'm on Zooms all week long. I'm meeting with these companies. Like
right. The meetings still happen.
I build decks, like truly.
Right.
And
the shitty parts of work still happen in content creation. It isn't just like you sit there. It's like, oh, here's a brilliant idea.
And because we're so involved, like that with the process that we're doing that stuff. I have one question on Second City and like the possibility of that. So I've filmed with you and you will bring in like friends, family, the team you talked about, and you're the clear alpha creative. How do you do in a group of a bunch of creatives? And have you been in a setting like that? You can maybe talk about like the Stanford show.
Yeah. I mean, so I think it was called the GSB show, which is what a theater production they do every year. It involves like probably 200 people. There's, you basically, it is a musical. So you're rewriting lyrics to songs across whatever, many different genres. You got a live band who's playing, you got dancers involved. You got a bunch of folks in the school involved. In that particular instance, I had clout as a social media creator. So like I was the creative director. Like nobody was going to be like, well, this, and this. And my peer, his name was Otis Blum.
His name was Otis Blum.
He also worked as Steve Martin's assistant and he worked on SNL as a PA. So he had some pretty good clout too.
Perfect.
And so the two of us were kind of like the folks there. But I think to take another example where I felt very nervous, I was doing this web series called PBC, which is, think of like The Office, but for accounting. It's a mockumentary. It was shot by a company called Flowcast, but there were people like Nick Coletti was in it. Danny Trejo was in it. The janitor from Scrubs, I'm forgetting his Neil Flynn. Like there were big names in there and a lot of it was improv. And that was one of those times where it's like, I wasn't in charge. I was just an actor there to play my part. And I'd come in and I would hit my lines very quickly because I'm studying. And they're like, okay, great. Now let's just have you improv for like the next 10 minutes because we got time.
Yeah, and they would just roll camera.
Yeah, the roll camera. And I'll be like, like.
And you're with like Nick Coletti, like a seasoned, like,
these guys
real
were
bros.
so funny. And I didn't buckle, but I wasn't sharp. I went home just being like, fuck, I should have said that. I should have said this. Like suddenly the gears are turning and I wasn't prepared to be in that setting. So I would say I like struggled a little. It was kind of a welcome to a bigger league moment.
Totally. I feel the same way.
You
People are like, why don't you act? I'm like, unless I'm writing something, I don't know, because I'm not an actor.
Right.
And you've taken acting classes. I feel like you can speak to that. But like, I am so uncomfortable in a production setting still. Like I had to have you, a good friend there who wrote it and is producing it. Like, and if I write something, I would do it. But like, I'm so scared to act in a role that like is outside of my range,
right.
you know?
Right. And I think that's super hard. I mean, I think that's anyone. I feel there's a lot of tons of roles out of my range too. I mean, you came in, yours was super natural and super funny. Like your delivery naturally, like you being you. I think there's a lot of people who can act that like if they are themselves, like it works. It totally works. Like nobody's asking me to like go sob genuinely over the grave of my
Leo.
Style. You know, like that's just never gonna be me. And I think it's just reps, right? Like the difference is when we film, it's us and maybe one other person there watching us film.
Who's
versus,
our friend or
versus
family.
40 people. I mean, we talk about the sales or dope set. We would rip some things we think they're so funny and not a single person would laugh. And
we're like, I'm sorry, are you guys being quiet is it like a sound issue or why aren't you cracking up?
Right. And because their job is literally, they can't because they ruin a shot. If we said something hilarious.
And they didn't want to laugh because it wasn't funny.
Right? Okay, we don't have to talk about that part. But yes, I mean, that's like their job. The crew's job is to not fuck up a shot by laughing or like ruining it. But you're still like looking for feedback. Guys,
no, like, because we're such affirmation seekers. Like, someone tell me I'm funny.
We're incredibly insecure.
Incredibly.
Yeah. That's why we do what we do. We project.
Yeah.
Before we go directly into like monetization, I want to hear about like, do you have any moments like, holy shit, this is turning into something like surreal moments?
Yeah. So 2 moments. One, I'll start with a weekend. I was invited to go to the Super Bowl by SoFi.
Sick.
Sick.
You're such a sporty spice.
In LA. I love sports so much. And It was a weekend in LA, and there was also a Revolve party, which is a clothing line.
Yeah.
Woman, do you know that?
I actually do know Revolve.
Okay.
It's one of two and Lulu's.
Okay, look at you.
Oh, Aritzia?
Oh my gosh.
Is that what it's called? Or
yes,
Ariza?
Aritzia.
Yeah. That one's hot right now.
All great brands. So Revolve has these insane parties in LA, and they invited me. I was somehow on the list. And
mine was lost. I found it later.
Yours was lost for sure. And Revolve parties can range from like something super not cool to something incredible. And this weekend was incredible. It was back-to-back nights, Justin Bieber, Drake, in an intimate room.
I've heard of them.
Feels like the size of this.
Wow.
Where they're performing for you.
Wow.
To all like influencers, creators. Jason Derulo's there, like insane. And like just any range they either have like a private table, or I'm on the floor, GA, with people that someone has 5 million followers right next to me, and we're like all mosh pitting to Drake. It was a weekend, and then we woke up on Sunday hungover from Drake and went to the Super Bowl. Like I was sobbing on the flight home. I was so thankful.
Totally.
And I called my mom. I'm like, if this is going to go away soon, I know it. There's no way this is real. And I cannot believe this is happening. So that was a huge pinch me moment. Thank you, SoFi.
Yeah.
Thank you, Revolve.
Shout out, SoFi.
Shout out, everyone.
Speaking of sponsors of the episode.
Yeah. No.
This episode is brought to you by Charmin Ultra.
Yes.
Quadruple ply for the days after the happy hour and the taco bar. Charmin Ultra Ply. Wipe your butt with something soft. All right.
Precisely. Any pinch me moments for you?
Pinch me moments for me. I haven't been in a room with Drake or JB.
Well, that's because you're not cool.
Mine was, okay, so Mia Khalifa slid into my DMs.
Okay.
Fun fact. That Mia Khalifa, sports talk radio Mia Khalifa. That's probably why you've heard of her. She also like dabbled in pornography. But she DM'd me randomly from an account called Not the Fake Mia Khalifa. And I looked her up, and she wasn't verified at the time. This was like 2017. And I told my friends this, and they're like, dude, you should DM her. I'm like, I looked up like Mia Khalifa, and there's like 500 accounts. Like they're all like fake Mia Khalifa accounts.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, there's no way this is her. And they're like, just do it. Like, what do you have to lose? Okay, fine. She had like 90,000 followers. I think today she has 20 million, something like that. Something
insanely high
Something
engagement.
insane.
And
all men
yeah.
who like sports talk radio.
Yes.
And so I DM her, and she's like, I was like, hey, look, not to be like weird, like you're probably not Mia Khalifa, but hey, like thanks for the message.
And what did it say?
Well, that was like my message, but I was like, they were like, ask her to be in a video. I was like, this is like weird. Like if you are Mia, like, do you want to be in one of my videos? Not like that. Haha. No, I didn't caveat the thing. Okay. And she was like, yeah, I'd love to. And this is me. And she sends me a picture of her in the car. She's just like has a seatbelt on. Holy shit. Well, let's ask her to do this. So the video that came out was Corporate Bro. This was back when everything was third person. So Corporate Bro learns the meaning of an open relationship. And I was like, so here's the idea. Basically, it's me holding a picture. I cut out a picture of my face, stuck it on a picture of Mia Khalifa sitting on some dude's like lap. It's like, I don't know, some like PR photo. So a shitty, huge head version of myself of her sitting on my lap. And I'm like sobbing. I'm like, why'd you do it? She's like, oh, Corporate, I thought you knew. End video. That was the first time I ever introduced the character's name as Corporate, was Mia Khalifa calling me Corporate.
Wow.
In that video.
And you actually did this video.
I did this video.
You pitched it to her, and she was like on board.
She was like, I love it.
And were you in person, or she filmed remote?
No, she filmed remote. She was like in DC or something. And she told me she was like working at an accounting firm. This was in between roles of sorts.
Yes.
And before she like blew up, she's like, no, my other account got hacked. Like for like the third time.
It
like this is really
so
me.
Like Russian spam bot.
Totally. I was like, there's no way
my
this
other
is
account
real.
got hacked. Here's a selfie. Like, what's happening?
She sent me and then she sent me the video of exactly the words that I said. And I was like, I just want you to say, oh, Corporate, I thought you knew. And that's it. Full stop. And that's like how.
That's crazy.
She has since unfollowed. She got some manager, got outside management, like cleaned house.
Yeah.
And I was one of those. She still does. Like I tagged her once recently, and she saw my message. She didn't respond. But she saw it. So in a lot of ways, we're pretty close.
Yeah, it's a good friend.
So speaking of making it, I wasn't in the room with Drake.
That's amazing.
But
I'm not doing videos with Drake. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, well, it was a very weird moment.
Do you have that like kind of man on the street ability to go up to strangers with a mic and ask them uncomfortable questions?
I honestly am so scared to talk to strangers.
I am terrified. And people
I'm a sales guy too.
We're so confident. Yeah, that shocks me for you.
Totally.
I cannot approach someone, especially and make them uncomfortable. That is,
Right.
I want to make everyone love me and feel so comfortable and
1,000,000%.
welcomed. I am terrified to put a mic in someone's face.
Right. I'm like, at least on sales calls, it's performative and I'm not there in person. And I can like justify it's like, I'm doing a job or I'm doing a job or I'm doing a bit. Like I hate prank stuff. I hate making other people uncomfortable.
Totally.
It's so cringy to me. It's just not me. I see why people do it. I actually don't really see why people do it, but
it's not me either.
Some
I'll
people
even
seem
be
like it.
asked, like someone doing like, can I ask you a question? Like on the street, like in New York, I was just walking, not as corporate Natalie, just as like a random passerby. And I'm so, I'm like, no, I'm terrified. I don't want to do it. I'm scared.
Please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
That's why I love video much more than like the
stand-up
world.
I don't hate myself enough for stand-up.
Yeah, I do, but I just keep it to myself.
Choose not to.
I tell it to Kyle every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But
That works.
okay, let's talk about the monetization side of things. Because I think one of the most common questions I get, I don't know about you, is how do you make money? Like, how does this world work for you? Like, how do you sustain in this? People are always like, wait, so do you get like ad revenue from YouTube?
Yeah.
And like, that's where it stops.
Totally.
So like, how, like, in your world, which I know we have a lot of overlap on, but how does it work?
So brands or agencies will reach out to us. We have an email in our Instagram bio. We're accessible in a lot of different ways. And they'll reach out to us with, we're doing a campaign for X company. We want you to be included. Here's the list of deliverables. We're looking for 2 TikToks. We want you to be exclusive with our category for a month. We want to have usage to boost your face across the internet for a month, which Ross gives away a lot of that.
A good one.
It's just splatter your face.
Gotta get better.
Got to get better at that. And a bunch of other things in this kind of package, very small thing. We don't have to get that granular, but.
Well, I do think it's interesting because I think.
Like, how you charge for these different things.
You charge for all these different things. I think like people are just like, oh, so you just charge like a flat rate for a video.
Yeah.
But it's no, there's the exclusivity you talked about. Is it in feed? Is it in my story? Does it get cross-posted to somewhere else? How long do they have rights to post it on their thing? These are all different things you can charge for. And I think a lot of creators, they don't know you can do that. I mean, most people generally don't know you can do that, but there's just a lot of ways to kind of like, there's value in a lot of these things.
And I think for us, it's different audiences. I think my TikTok audience is very different from my Instagram, is very different from my LinkedIn. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like the three. It's funny because you'll post the same video on all 3 platforms and like one will crush.
Different.
So the reaction is just so different.
I know. And I think that's good because it's like, you have like different accounts to charge for.
Right.
And so they reach out, is it a fit? First of all, do I like the company? I think in the beginning I was such a brand whore. I'm like, I will work with anything that wants to work with me because I was so excited by getting these checks and this money and this side income. I was like, first entry level consulting, salary is not incredible out of college.
No, it's not.
And so I wanted a little play money. I wanted to go to Aritzia and buy all of it. So I was very driven by those kind of deals and I was excited about it. And I think now I'm a lot more selective about who I work with. And I do longer term partnerships. So United I work with and we do a Q1 through 4 video, one every quarter.
Yep.
And that's like a very long contract.
United was good. Hit me up.
Hey, United, I love you.
I'm almost 1K without your help.
I will work with you anytime.
I just want a board before everyone else.
But yeah, so it's a lot more formal. I think people think like when you see an ad posted on our channels, that video was made probably a month prior.
Yeah.
There's so many levels of review,
approvals,
edits, approvals. I send a script. Like, yeah. So what am I missing? Tell me what else.
No, I mean, so like, speaking, right? In-person stuff. So like the whole business, like I'm talking like whole, like you got merch, right?
Business.
Merch is a big piece of this.
Merch makes
a piece of this.
Merch makes I think people think like, oh my God, you have merch. You must be like huge and making a ton of money. Merch makes nothing.
Nothing.
It's like more honestly, like for us.
Totally. It's like a brand piece. It's like, oh, it's cool. That's on someone's desk. But like the $4 I make on a mug is not exactly like keeping me in San Francisco.
Totally. People are like, yeah, that's a huge kind of myth of the industry. Like,
it's an honor, by the way. Anyone who buys the merch, I'm so
honored.
Truly, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
It's honored, truly. So the speaking I've gotten more into because I started with just doing brand deals and 99% of my revenue was these ads in my feed,
right?
And 1% was Cameo.
Yeah,
so
Cameo.
I had to diversify a bit.
Little Cameo.
You were speaking. My friend Victoria was speaking. It seemed like something I could do and talk on. Gen Z in the workplace is kind of what I speak on now as a cusp millennial.
So when you go and speak Gen Z in the workplace, are you like as a fellow Gen Z, you should do blank.
Well, of course,
This is where
I
you
tune
morph?
it to the audience. I morph.
Oh
So like
my
speaking to
God.
the interns, I'm like, I'm one of you.
Yeah.
I'm Gen Z.
Oh my
Speaking
God.
at a huge HR conference about how to retain Gen Z,
Yeah.
I'm acting like I'm 85.
Right.
I'm like, as an old corporate bitch, I have a lot to say on this.
Yeah, these young bloods, they get up for
swear-
mission-driven organizations.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to have a culture.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
And I'm still trying to diversify income because I think any day, like our accounts could be hacked. We could lose relevancy on an
Instagram,
account.
TikTok is banned.
Get something happens.
Something,
and
yeah.
so I think I'm looking for the next step, which is making this podcast worth $1 million.
Oh, we're gonna be poor.
Oh my gosh. These mics were expensive.
Yeah,
Anyway,
just blew mine out. So sorry. Sorry, Mike.
what is your, I think your ecosystem of income is different from mine. I think people would be interested to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's still probably like if I'm breaking down percentages, it's probably 70% like still brand deal stuff that you see. I have a piece of like consulting that's fairly big. I'm the classic startup bro where like these early stage companies will hit me up and I'm like, actually, like, I'll give you 5 hours a month, but you're going to give me some equity in your company.
And you don't take an hourly fee either.
So the bigger companies, I will just do hourly, but the
Okay.
smaller ones I want to do like, if I'm going to give 5 or 6 hours, like it's interesting work to me. It keeps me relevant in terms of like what's happening in the tech ecosystem, from like the VCs to like go-to-market strategy, like to just what's going on the ground, which is what I need I like need that information. But then also like, why not take some little bets on upside of one of these companies? If it pops off in 5 years, like the 5 or 6 hours I'm investing now, like it's already worth it to me just in like an experience piece. But if one of these pops off from an equity standpoint, like that'd be great. That'd be cool. So there is a piece of that. Speaking, I think it's very cyclical for me. So like I would say October through March, very speaking heavy.
SKO.
Sales kickoff season, go speak to the sales savages. I'm doing some like other workshop type stuff now. It's less keynote-y. The problem for me is like the keynotes, I write so many of them originally for each company.
Yeah.
And I'm practicing for months and I make more off a brand video than an SKO, and the SKOs are just like eating me up inside, getting on stage. I'm like,
So much
I'm
anxiety.
so sick.
Yeah.
I'm so sick. I'm just throwing down a little Xanny the night before just so I can sleep for 2 hours.
Literally. It's really stressful.
People are like, oh, it looks so
and you
easy
give
for you up there.
keynotes, which like I draw a barrier. Like I will do Q&As, fireside chats. I want
Yeah.
someone on stage with me.
Totally.
I am terrified to go up alone,
Well, that's why we got to do our live show.
which is why this podcast is brought to you by our own live show.
It's going to be more of like a theatrical production with
It's
music.
kind of a Bo
and stuff.
Burnham
Yeah.
style skit.
Way less talent,
Yeah.
but way less music. That's the goal one day. But I still think that's a piece. Like I do a fair amount of cameos. I think cameos are like quick and easy, and I'll rip them out. They get a little annoying at times, especially when people try to use them as brand stuff.
Fully.
Like
They're
people
like,
try to
say
game the
that
system.
Charmin Ultra is the best toilet paper to hit your ass.
Right. And I'm like, if you don't send me something, I've not wiped my butt with it, I will not endorse it. That is my line.
That's for any product.
Any
Actually,
product.
that's like outside of toilet paper as
Will
well.
it wipe?
Will it
New
wipe?
segment.
Yep.
New segment.
New segment dropping this week.
Speaking of segments, should we do one?
Yeah. Okay. So before we wrap, what we like to do is introduce a segment and then do something completely different. So
Right.
we introduced Promoted or Demoted, and we're now going to play just a random game of Would You Rather.
Right. Would you rather? But we're still going to promote or demote. Like, so you promote one
So
or
we'll
demote the other
promote one or demote the other. And
Right.
we haven't seen these. These were written by, I won't share in case they're dirty and disgusting,
Yeah.
but
I'm nervous.
Our teams. Okay.
Would you rather?
Can you read them? I'm dyslexic.
Okay. Well, I'm in sales. Hopefully these are written at 3rd grade level. Would you rather say, I love you to your boss, or flush the toilet unmuted on a team call? When you're saying I love you to your boss, I'm going to caveat that your boss is married, and at no point have you ever had like a joking relationship with your boss in this case.
Yeah, I would rather say I love you. I cannot do the flush. I've seen those viral TikToks of
Yeah.
like someone completely just like dropping trout, the videos on.
So are you promoting? You're promoting
I'm promoting love between
to your boss,
coworkers. Yeah.
to your boss, and you're demoting flushing the toilet.
How about you?
Yeah. It depends on what I did to that toilet, because sometimes it's like a dominance assertion. Like sometimes you're just like, it is a shame no one else was here today for this. No? Okay. Anyway, I'm going to promote the flush because I think it's a power move.
Okay.
And I'm going to simply moat saying I love you to your boss.
Okay, Moat. Would you rather request PTO to get intimate with your partner or add a public block on your calendar that says smoke weed and watch Teletubbies?
Oh man,
I love these. This is really good.
Oh, so it's block out.
I have an anecdote on this. I had a boss who was a complete oversharer at the company I worked at after Deloitte.
Great.
And he was like,
Starts to Google.
I am going on a romantic lover's getaway with my partner, Brian. And he was such an interesting dude. He's like, we are actually going to explore the Salem witch trials, and we are going to get into some kind of sexual voodoo acts together. I could show you. No, enough.
Nothing gets me hornier than a Salem witch trial. I'll tell you.
Anyway. Promoted.
He's promoted.
Yeah.
I am going to demote PTO.
I knew, because you probably have done this. Smoke weed and watch Teletubbies.
Yeah.
Like,
and
let's just
I
share
do it every week. It may not be Teletubbies, it's some Teletubby adjacent, but I mean, you had me at smoke weed, so
100%.
I don't know what to tell you.
I'll get intimate with my partner.
On a schedule.
On a schedule.
On a prescribed schedule. You get paid.
On a calendar. It's like 40-year-olds trying to be intimate with their partner.
Right. You know what's always weirded me out is when people say we're trying to have a kid.
Yeah.
It's just,
well, it's hard to get pregnant.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just like, you're fucking. Like, okay, cool. Like,
oh yeah, like letting everyone know, like,
it's
we
like
are having
unprotected
a bunch
sex.
of sex all the time.
Right, with an effort to have a child.
Yes, yeah, that's fair. We're trying.
We're trying. Hey,
so
man,
you're just
good luck, dude.
You're
like
putting
that sounds,
in the work,
right? Yeah, man, hey, I dap him up. I'm going for a big like, what's up, dude? Like, hey, wishing you the best. Let me know how I can help.
Totally. Let me tap me in if you need me.
Let me know.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Okay.
Last one.
Would you rather accidentally share your screen of a Google search that says best way to ask your coworker out or how to fart silently in public? I have to promote best way to ask your coworker out.
Yeah, I think I'm promoting that one too. I think that also could be used in like an actual like sly, like cool way. Like, oh shit, my bad.
Oh, you saw that?
Sorry, Denise. It's you. Sorry.
Those were great to whoever wrote those.
Yeah, whoever wrote those.
The little lady in the corner over
farting
there.
silently, please.
Thank you.
Mastered that years ago.
Well, that's been a great episode.
Great episode of Demoted.
Tune in next week on Demoted.